Hello and welcome to the International Interprofessional Mentorship Program. My name is Kate Barlow and I am the founder and host for today's meeting. It's March 7th, 2023. And today, Tatiana Pontes is here to talk about the Occupational Repertoire Development Measure. If you could please mute yourselves while she's talking, but you're welcome to type a question in the chat box at any time, or you can take yourself off mute to ask a question. I will put the survey attendance link in the chat box. Please make sure that you complete that survey if you would like a certificate of attendance. At the conclusion of the presentation, there'll be a brief question and answer session, and then we'll have an informal meet and greet. So thank you all so much for coming today, Tatiana. I am so thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for having me here, and good afternoon. So I'm here today to present the work my colleagues and I are doing over a couple years on the development of the Occupational Repertoire Development Measure. Okay, so, okay, let's make that. Now I need to make it pass. Okay, down here. Good, sorry. So my goal today is to briefly describe the measure, its conceptualization, construction, and validation, as well as to present the future directions and the plans that we have for it. So, as pediatric occupational therapists, we are concerned with the occupational development of children. It's very common to use measures to track developmental milestones, such as crawling and walking, but when it comes to occupations, we still have a gap. So, what we are doing now is proposing a new measure of occupational development. That's the Occupational Repertoire Development Measure. This measure has been constructed to provide a means for occupational therapists to assess children's occupations, competence, and repertoire, as well as change in these dimensions over time. This measure will be available in two versions, a parent version and a child version. Was that you, or there's a question in the chat box? Oh, okay, sorry. I have a problem with chats. I always go to it. We began considering a creation of a new measure to capture the concept of occupational development after completing a few studies using the Pediatric Activity Card sort, the PACS. We found that the PACS was not capturing whether the child thought they had the opportunity to learn and perform the occupation, which we felt was important to fully understand the child's occupational development. We engaged in a concept synthesis of measures looking at children's occupations to understand the main concepts. We found that in general, the measures contain some relevance to 5 concepts that I present right now: occupational repertoire, occupational competence, which captures the idea of can do something along with the required assistance. Occupational engagement, which captures the idea of does do. So competence, we wait for can this child do it, but when we talk about engagement, we really want to know, does they do? Does this child do it? Opportunity, which will include the notion of access to learning and environment support for doing and participation. And the interest or necessity, which captures the reasons for doing that. We included that one because a lot of times when we ask a kid like, oh, why don't you do chores? is there someone that wants to do chores? I do not know this person so far. So a lot of times they just don't want to do it, or they don't like it. And because it's a child with disability, sometimes that we don't ever ask them. So we, based on our study with the PACs, we included that concept as well. All of these concepts were viewed as important to understand children's occupational development. Then we started to develop a measure that would capture the occupational development, which is described as a gradual change in a person's occupations over time in relation to their competence and repertoire. And then the occupational competence, that's perceived capacity to do an occupation. Do you want to stop and ask anything? I'm concerned about the chat box. I know, I have a problem with that.
No, I'm monitoring it. I'm just working on the attendance link right now. No questions so far.
Oh, okay. I have this, when someone calls or you have one email that you didn't read, that gets me nervous. So when I see this chat box, I'm still nervous. So sorry. And the occupational repertoire, that's the set of occupations that a person has at specific point in time in their life course. And added to it, we also incorporate the concept of interest and opportunity. Here is a very brief list. It's not no means to be exhaustive at all, which is just like some of the measures we look at before developing this measure. So when we do a measure development, the first thing that we do is ask ourselves, is there already out there a measure that captures the same concept that we want to measure? Because if we have it already, we don't need to create something new. Maybe we just need to adapt or do a transcultural validation, but we don't need to create something new. So we checked different pediatric measures and to see if they had the items, the concepts that we want to measure with our measure. So we check about interest, we check about opportunity, we check repertoire, competence, and environment, okay? And we try to see which concept these measures are capturing. However, none of these measures fully consider the interaction among the person, occupation, environment, and this contribution to child's repertoire. Most assessments look at participations in occupations from more like a frequency perspective and fail to consider the opportunity or interest perspective, okay? Another thing that we saw with the PACs was when we ask a child, oh, do you participate in like climbing trees? The kid will say, oh, yes, I do it. How do you do that? Oh, my dad put me up there. Because we're measuring participation and not competence. And that's our different concepts. And when it comes to performance and development, that's a different concept that we are not capturing with that. So we try to address this gap. And that's why we just started to create the ORDM. So the ORDM aims to help occupational therapy understand fully the development of children's occupational repertoire and work with children and families to identify specific occupations-based issues, and then have goals, intervention goals that will be meaningful to this child and family. Another advantage is that this measure was, its delivery is conceived to be a computer-based format. And we did that to increase access among occupational therapists, decrease the amount of materials required to complete the assessment, as well as to make the process more relatable and engaging for users. In addition, this new generation of children, they are growing up in a digital age, and they're using the internet for communication, skill assignments, wayfinding, and play. So when we have the child's version, that's of self-report, it was important to have that in a online format, because child has a unique perception of his or her own competence in a particular domain, with these perceptions being useful in the occupational therapist's collaborative goal-setting process. As you know and may notice so far, it's a top-down assessment that seeks to obtain clients' perspective, to understand perspective on their abilities and occupational performance issues. So, to develop the measure, we use an approach that was modified from the work done by Churchill and Downing. This table that I present here demonstrates, can you see it here? It demonstrates what we have done so far in different phases of the project. So here in red is where we are right now. And then we have the next steps of this measuring process. So we start like to go and, okay, what we want to investigate, what's our concept. And then we went into all measures, we check all measure availables, we identify the construct that we want, that was occupational repertoire, competence, development, opportunity, interest, and then we start developing the items, identify items, and okay, we have a version of it. We send it out. We have input from OTs and parents for different parts of the world so far. And then after their input, we refine it, we generate a scale, we have that out again, more input from OTs, more input from parents, and also from children. And now we are hoping to move to an outcome and then the psychometrics, finish the psychometrics. So our goal with this measure is to support OTs to fully understand the development of child's occupational repertoire, to improve the work with children and families by identifying specific occupation goals for intervention that are meaningful to the child and the family. As I said before, we have two versions of it, a parent report and a child report, both of which were constructed for online administration. Each version posed questions about performance and engagement, perceived competence, opportunities, and interests, with the child's version also having all the drawings, animated drawings to capture children's attention. I do not know if you notice so far, but all the drawings and the animated versions of it are from the measure. So everything that I have, like the image that I have in my presentations, they are from our measure. It is also worth to mention that during the creation and validation, we have involved occupational therapists, parents, and children from different countries. To name few, we have, of course, Brazil, Canada, and US, because it's where the authors are right now, are from. But we also have Chile, Holland, Spain, yeah, I kind of forgot some of them, but we are good at it. Okay. And just to show some examples, so every time that we are doing the items, we do that in different language since the beginning. So when we finish developing the measure, we aim for it to have already been translated and validated to different countries. As someone from a country where because I'm from Brazil, where we always had to wait until something be published, and then we'll be like validating, translating, and that would be like 5 years since some measure was created, and then we have access to it. It measures to me that we are able to offer a tool that will be already validated for not all, but at least some different countries, and with already different language to be that can be used in. And we we aim to collect data, so the psychometric information of it already has it's related to the population you will be seeing as well. Here, as I told you, have some examples, but we are still working on getting more countries and languages involved in this measure. Then here, and I want to, at the end of presentation, I will show you this site and how it is right now, what we have done and developing, but that's how the parents' version looks like. The parents' version, oh, it's missing a letter, the image, you ate it. But the parents' version, it is designed to be used for children's age 2 to 12, and will be a caregiver report. We have some categories like feeding, and this parents' piece of it, we have way more activities and sometimes tasks than we have in the kids' version of it. We try to incorporate drawings that reflects different ways of eating, because if we are talking about eating as an occupation at the most like occupational level of it, I do not care if the child is using a fork, their hands, or chopstick, or anything else, because I'm looking at the occupational level of it. But when you go down to the tasks that compose this occupation, we may need to look into the small pieces of it and how to break down it so we can address the occupational issue. Okay.
Can I interrupt you real quick? There's a question in the chat, and that is, so the ORDM is more focused to cater as a self-report. Which pediatric conditions will this be more suitable to administer to? Administer it.
Yeah, so in fact, the measure, it's not aimed so far Although we already have the data that can be good and discriminate children with disability from children without disability, we aim to understand child's occupational repertoire development. So it's not just for, it would be a good tool also for like well-being check. So we know that this kids is achieving something that matters to them. But as an example we use it with kids with autism. So we could see that all the social piece of the measure, they were late and they were not performing as the peers with typical development. Also, another aspect that can help and guide our intervention is that, when we go and ask, like, can this child, can they do it? Oh, they can, but they are not performing. Why not? Oh, because they have no opportunity to do that. And then we can go and try to understand what this lack of opportunity means. Is an environmental issue and they cannot have access to it, or is more like a political issue, so we need to advocate for it. It is the parents never allow them to do because it's dangerous. So how can we address things? And this measure aim guide the OT to fully understand where is the occupational issue. It's a performance issue. If it's a performing issue, a lot of kids with like physical disabilities will may be a good client for this, so we can use this. But we have like the social component that we could see that kids in spectrum were sensitive to it, or maybe it's an environment issue. It's lack of access and lack of opportunities. So we need to work in a different way. Does that make sense? So that's how the ORM parents look like. That's how parents will see it. We will have like occupational groups, like we have here, examples feeding, where parents can see drawings of different eating activities. The parents version always also have tasks and actions. That's different from kids version. Parents will inform children abilities to perform. So they will talk about actual performance and level of assistance. And as I talked just now, we have used the parents version with kids with the autism spectrum and kids with typical development, neurotypical development. And we could see that the kids with autism, they have more, of course, as expected, issues in the domains related to social participation. So from 48 of 75 items, when we compare autistic children and children with typical development, as we can see here for like comparative play or cutting with knife, no difference was found in items that all children do, like toileting, eating, using technology. So both groups had high occupational performance rate, or have some very small items related to chores, managing money, where both groups had low occupational performance rate. And this is how looks the child version. I will show you the actual website. So the ORDM child asks kids about their ability to perform, their interest and opportunity. Continue the validation of this measure. Our next study will explore and analyze the face validity of the animated image using the measure And we also aim to gather a better understanding of children's core occupations, interests, and opportunity. So here we have, do you feed yourself? So if they go, I do this. And so new different things pop up, like, can you do it? Do you want to do? And have you, so if you say, I don't do it, sorry. And have you had a chance? If you do this, so you will try to understand how good this child is. And we also want to include different ways of toileting or potty, because there is no like right way of performing an occupation. So we have here a child in the wheelchair and they are using enema. And here we have another child with a colostomy bag. So if they are able to manage that, because we're talking about how well they can perform that. And here, as we mentioned, and see, like when we are developing this, like it's a lot of work, because all the image we need to understand and make sure that they make sense. Like Brazilian kids, they do not do bathtubs, they take showers. So was like a fight. Okay, we need to have shower image, because if you see a bathtub for a big kid, they would not get it. So, and we by no means will be able to capture all the different ways people do things, but we keep trying to get as many as we can. So now we have 75 occupations that are presented on the ORM child version. 28 had a participation rate of over 90%, and we identify that as core occupations. There's a lot of different factors that influence what they do, like age, culture, and environment, were socio-demographic factors that influence child's occupation. As we comment, like eating with hands or spoons, dancing or washing hands. Like for Brazilian kids, we're really clear, we do our hair. We care about nail, like polish and nail art and things. So that was like small girl things. So that was different things in cultural things that we need to add to it, to the measure, because it's part of a repertoire for a lot of different kids. Culture and environment were responsible for 7% of reasons why a child do not participate in activity. Like when we talk shoveling snow, if you have no snow where we live, we'll never do that. But does that really means a lot? Or can we talk about doing, helping with chores, doing occupations for like that support others? So it depends on what we really want to measure, because if someone is not shoveling snow, would they be development be late? No. So that's why doing a measure that there's a lot of cultural aspect, it takes a long time to do. That's why I keep telling myself to feel good, because I didn't finish that yet. Here we have a sample difference in occupational repertoires and how it varied across age and cultures. As we can see, technology use increase with age or difference in extracurricular play. And here we have some quotes for children. When we did the research about what the measures mean to them, and they would say, oh no, for a meal like that, like I will be eating like crackers and grape. I would not be eating this food. Or I know she used to like to sit in the shopping cart inside when she was younger, but now she's tall. So, how things change. Sometimes they're not doing a repertoire because it varies with age. She's left-handed. Okay, so maybe we will need to have also some pictures, some drawings with a left-handed kid. Oh no, I write with a pen, not with a pen. So there is difference, and think that kids will comment and how well they could understand the drawings that we have. We live in a place that there was no signals to cross the street. So that makes no sense for me. So we are still working on that. It's still a work in progress. Our goal is to support occupational therapists. And so far, our data have shown that occupational therapists perceive the ORM to be a practical, simple, supportive of occupation-based practice and relevant for children. Use of the ORM enables therapists to design interventions that optimize children's occupational development and align with families' value and context. We plan and we need for a greater and more representative population working internationally to ensure cultural sensitivity. And also we need, of course, additional research on other psychometric properties before we can implement the measure. That's what I have for today. And thank you. That's my reference. And I also can share some reference that from a paper the work that we have published so far about the measure.
Thank you so much, Tatiana. I think what you're doing is just really amazing, especially the amount of countries that have already been participating. If anyone here was interested in helping out, what would they do?
They can just email me. Let me put my email on it here. And we can here.
I don't know where everybody is from, but I was counting and I had 10 countries here. So I could be missing from, but there's a good representative so far.
Yeah. Yes, is that Jolene?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes, so I'm more than happy to collaborate. Will be welcome, and we are really trying to get this outcome right now. Yeah, and we are. And so then we can collect data. We have one person that we work with me right now to try to understand the occupational repertoire development of deaf kids. So see what the difference and yeah.
Did you say deaf kids?
Yes, deaf. I have a problem with that. I'm trying to avoid because I don't want to kill anyone. So it's not deaf, it's deaf, right? Okay, deaf kids. Okay, I'm trying.
Gotcha. Does anyone have any questions? Got a lot of thank yous coming here through the chat box. So if anyone has a question that they have tomorrow or tonight that you forgot, you can always email me and I can forward it to Tatiana, or she also left her email in the chat. Thank you so much, Dr. Pontes, for coming. We really appreciate you sharing this, and I can't wait till it's available.
Thank you, Kate, and see you tomorrow.